I am Jason Abraham, the Shadow Teacher 33, and I put a video up on my BitChute channel titled, Your Perception Determines Your Reality. Something along those lines. A quote from Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn. And that video was not too popular. Got a lot of hate. Some of the truthers did not like what I was saying in that video and did not really get my perspective. And there's talk in the manifestation community of when one is intending to manifest, or you see yourself as a creator, that you have a creative spark and your thoughts are shaping the reality, which I believe. I believe there is truth to that. There is nuanced truth to that. And one of the beliefs in the manifestation community is to ignore your 3D reality, is to, if you're working on manifesting something and it's not showing up, or you're getting the opposite, you still need to hold the belief that it's on the way and not give your 3D world too much attention. And you know what? There's some value to this, because there's a Buddhist principle where everything is in transition. Everything is in flux. Everything is in change. And so much suffering is when our minds get attached to that which is transient, which is always in flux. We get attached to these things and circumstances and people who are going to be in and out of our lives, circumstances that are guaranteed to change, and we attach to them. We place stories and meaning to them. And when we start to give that meaning, then we start to shape our world. We start to shape what's going to be showing up in our lives. So when one is in the state of a wish fulfilled, or when one is in alignment with their values of how they're living their life, they can go about their lives, they can acknowledge what their 3D is, but simply not give it too much credibility, not give it too much meaning. And that particular video that I put up on that BitChute channel, there were all these narratives in the news, all these reports in the news that time of a certain subject. And someone in my life sent me a text that was rooted in fear. And I'd already gone outside and I was just living my life, not really paying attention to any of this stuff. And I was in a situation to where my life really didn't change whatsoever, despite what was being said in the news. And I had my experience, which again was not being fazed whatsoever by this fear narrative of something that was happening somewhere, but really was not affecting my world the way the news would like me or someone else watching the news to believe it. And I made that video based on that perspective, and based on how, if you have an institution that is basically kept alive from fear, it profits off of fear and profits off of you staying glued to it, like the news, then what value is that particular investment in your time by watching the news? Or are you really having a greater quality life when you watch the news and believe everything in the news as it's presented to you? I'm not saying that some of what is in the news does not have some kind of validity, but the way it's presented is in a way to basically pull your energy into a fear pendulum and pull you off course, off of something that's more relevant and meaningful in your life. And that was the point of that video. And a lot of people didn't like it, accused me of being some kind of spiritual bypassing hippie, which is not what I'm about. The shadow teacher is all about digging into our shadows and understanding how our shadow programs are triggered. And when we can work through those and we get to the creative spark within us, we are able to express a higher level of potential and potency in our lives. And I don't watch the news. Guess what? I don't watch the news, and I'm doing just fine in my life. And when people tell me stuff that's in the news, I always take a moment to at least question, is this true? Is this relevant? And it served me quite well. I remember what the news was reporting on in 2020 and how the news was used in 2020 on a certain something that I'm not going to talk about in this video, because this video is going to be up on YouTube as well as BitChute. But I just looked at people who were believing everything the news was saying and how they were living in a different reality than I was, and saw how diminished their spirits were. And so what I've noticed when my perception is pure and my perception and my intention is pure, and I stay with it, even if my 3D reality is not reflecting it at the moment, when I can work through any kind of triggers in me that are being reflected out in a 3D reality that is out of alignment with my values, out of alignment with my intention, if I can work through those, work through that resistance, eventually what I find is that which I desire shows up in my life. That which is in alignment with my highest good shows up in my life. And that is the power of mind. That is the power of the quantum realm. And when I am not charging negative pendulums, they still exist. I can't stop them, because something that has that much momentum and that much charge to it, of course, it's going to be out there. But what I find is I'm not fazed by it the same way as someone who is buying into all of it. Nor am I fazed the same way as someone who is resisting a negative pendulum, someone who's fighting, someone who's at war with a negative force in the world. When I'm in alignment with my values and I see a narrative or I see a trend or I see something that's gained that kind of momentum that's out of alignment that many people are believing and buying into, I simply find a way to acknowledge it, dismiss it, and then go about my day and create that which I want. So that being said, I'm going to end this transmission. Hope this provides a valuable perspective. Whether you believe me, whether you don't, maybe there's a little bit of resonance of what I'm saying. And with that being said, I will see you on the other side. Be well.